it was a lot of fun out there. I was deucing away in the beginning. Missed a couple of the easier deuces on the back nine that I might have liked to got, but I made an ace on hole 17, and it really picked me up and hit a solid par on number 18 to keep in the 40s for a new record. 40s, baby! Come on!
Welcome to the 1999 United States Disc Golf Championships from the spectacular Winthrop University Gold Course in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Brought to you by Innova Champion, the leader in disc golf products since 1983. Log on to www.innovadiscs.com. Also brought to you by the Professional Disc Golf Association. Founded in 1976, the PDGA is dedicated to the promotion and management of the sport of disc golf. Log on to www.pdga.com.
I'm Stacy Watkins at the 1999 U.S. Disc Golf Championship from Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm joined today by Bucky Warboys. Bucky, what can we expect to see today?
Stacy, we're going to be following the lead group in the final round for 9 of the most challenging holes here at the Winthrop University course.
I understand this is a very unique format. Tell me what makes it different from a standard tournament.
Well, typically what you'll find is that tournaments are broken down by division, with players playing 2 rounds on Saturday and 2 rounds on Sunday on courses that are par 54. Here at the spectacular course at Winthrop University, the course is a par 63, which makes it that much more difficult for competitors. Now, in order to get here, players have to play in qualifying events throughout the country. So it's one division, one champion. Now, they'll each play 1 round beginning on Thursday and culminating on Sunday. You'll find players ranging from the age of 16 to the mid-50s. So it's very simply, you bring your bag and you bring your game.
Let's take a look at the leaderboard for today's final round.
Stacy, here's how the leaderboard shakes down after 3 rounds. In first place, Ken Climo with a cumulative score of 150 from Clearwater, Florida. From Farmington Hills, Michigan, in second place is Al Schack with a 161. From Sheboygan, Wisconsin, Barry Schultz with a 164. And rounding out the lead group at 165 is Dr. Rick Vokes from Bowling Green, Kentucky.
After 3 days of beautiful weather, the rain has set in as forecast.
That's right, Stacy. A great day for the Ducks, but Ducks don't play disc golf. There you see Jonathan Poole, tournament director. Kudos to he and the staff. They've done a great job. And right onto the tee. There's no suspension of play, so as you see, Ken on the tee.
Ken Climo, our 9-time world champion.
Lacing a perfect shot right down the middle, what you would expect from the 9-time world champion.
He's in perfect position now to get that shot in 2.
He is indeed, Stacy, and he's just played fabulously all weekend.
Next up is Al Schack. He's hiding his disc underneath his jacket to keep it dry for just a couple more moments.
And you'll see that several times today, or as long as the rain's around. And, oh, Al catching an unfortunate break, disc kicking to the right. Now, as the hole plays, the ground slopes away from you left to right, Stacy, and it sets up fairly easy for these golfers. For the average golfer, it could be somewhat of a difficult shot, but for these guys, they can do this in their sleep.
Next up is Barry Schultz, and he doesn't look like he's too protected from the rain, but we'll see how he fares.
Well, golfers have different views. Some golfers can't play with jewelry. Some golfers like no hats or no jackets, but Barry's pretty laid back. Let's see how he does here. And right down the middle. Oh.
Another bad break.
Yes, he too catching a tree. Barry from Wisconsin. And most of the guys from up north are like that. You'll find that they don't like to wear jackets or any exterior garments.
Next up is Dr. Rick Vogt stepping up to the tee.
And Dr. Rick, Stacy, that's what you're going to see today as well. The disc coming out of Dr. Rick's hand a bit early, the reason being the disc is wet. Now, as you can see here, hole 1 sets up as 224 feet. It's a par 3, low ceiling, significant slope to the right, and requires a near-perfect shot. That's for the average player. These guys that are in the lead group in the final round should get it every time.
Here's Al setting up for second shot.
And Al with a forehand roller, looks to set down nicely. Got a pretty good head of steam. He's about 45 feet long of the basket. That's not the putt that you want right there for par on the opening round of the 1999 U.S. Disc Golf Championships. I can guarantee you that.
Here's Barry for his next shot.
And from that distance, Stacy, these guys are just going to try to lay up. They're not going to try to do anything crazy because too many bad things can happen. With that ground sloping away from you, if you hit the basket and the disc gets an edge, you could very easily roll 50 to 75 feet away.
That's a good shot. He should be in perfect position to get in safely.
Yes.
Next up is Dr. Rick.
And Dr. Rick he's probably about 75 feet away. He's one person that I could certainly expect to make it from there, but as again you see, he's very cautious. These guys want to get out of the blocks safely. They don't want anything crazy to happen.
Ken Climo getting ready for his second shot. And he's in safely in 2.
And Barry getting ready to putt out for his par, safely in at 3. Al, having missed his par attempt, now sets up for a fairly simple 4. Again, as I said, Stacy, it's key to get out of the blocks with at least a par. You don't want to put the pressure on yourself on the first hole because these guys all know this is a hole that if it's not birdied, should certainly be parred.
And here's the leaderboard after hole 1 of the final round. Next up, we have Ken Climo on hole 2. Now, hole 2 is 262 feet, another par 3.
Yes, and very similar to hole 1, a perfect shot right down the middle, except Kenny has busted through what we call the fairway, and he's left himself with a difficult shot for 2. He's not liking that shot at all. But again, the conditions have a lot to do with these shots, Stacy.
Next up is Barry Schultz. Now, Barry didn't start off very well on the first hole. Let's see if he can regain some of his usual composure and get a good shot going into the second hole.
That's right. And you'll see the towel in his hand. You'll see that's a familiar sight all day today.
Just a straight shot right down the middle of the fairway.
Absolutely beautiful. I'll tell you what, that's a big confidence booster after that
He
first hole.
looks happy, too.
That's right. Hitting the first tree on the first hole. That's a nice comeback.
Rick Vogt now getting ready.
And excuse me, Stacy, but it looks to me as if the disc is coming out a little early from Dr. Rick. As you can see, that finished a little left, catching that rock, and I think the weather, the rain is affecting his grip on that disc. Now, Al's really needing a strong throw here because getting a 4 on the first hole is not what he was expecting.
Oh. You hate to see him start off this way in the first 2 holes.
Let's take a look at that again, Stacy. What happened here is when Al let go, the nose of the disc was up, and it rose just high enough to catch that branch and knock him straight down. Again, an unfortunate break.
Here's Al for a second shot.
Now you can see not only the rain, but you can see how cold it is out there as well. Now that's a great shot.
Now, what kind of shot was that, Bucky? Did he have a little spin on that shot?
Yeah, it was just a basic turnover shot and just trying to flex it into the hole, give himself again something close when you're that far out.
Here's Ken from behind a tree.
With a little 2-finger. And again, as I said, Stacy, what you're going to find is if these guys are not close enough to get a guaranteed 2, they're just going to lay it up underneath the basket.
Now, here's Rick for a second shot.
Oh, very close, just left of the basket, leaving himself about 5 feet.
Again, very, very close to the hole. No problem getting in 3.
No.
Now, is this upward shot going to be more difficult for Al?
Not really. It does make a little bit of a difference when you're putting uphill, but that's not enough. Again, for these guys, something like that doesn't really make a difference. These are some of the things that are just the little subtleties that they're able to overcome.
He's in safely in 3. Here's Barry with the straddle shot. We'll see him use this quite a bit.
Yes, you will. That's Barry's preference. One of the things you have to look out for in these conditions is discs doing what they call cut through the basket. The chains of the basket are wet, and sometimes the disc just gets a mind of its own. Dr. Rick safely in 3. And the disc will cut right through the basket.
And here's Ken. He too, safely in 3.
Jumping ahead to hole number 4, Stacy, it's a par 3, 389 feet. Now, the camera doesn't really capture the depth of this hole, but it does drop about 75 feet. And I would be surprised if you saw any shots that go past the basket on this hole.
And here are the leaders after 3 holes in the final round. Bucky, what kind of shots can we expect to see on hole 4?
Well, Stacy, as I alluded to before, I would imagine that you wouldn't see anybody past the basket here. What these guys are going to try to do is just put themselves in position to get a good chance for a 2. So let's see how Barry fares on this tee shot. And it comes out, as I expected, flat with a bit of hyzer. And let's see how he lands. He got a bit of a skip, but I'll tell you what, to the right of the basket, Stacy, what you're going to find is that there's been so much rain that the discs are not going to be conducive to skipping, that there's so much water, it's just going to grab the disc, and they'll have a tendency to stop right there with very little skip.
Ken stepping up to the tee. I imagine we'll see the same type of thing from him.
Kenny with a bit more hyzer.
Okay.
Kenny likes to throw a rock on this shot, and yeah, as you see there, there's so much water on the ground it just doesn't skip. As you can see with Dr. Rick, he's got a high-tech disc in his hand, which is more conducive to the skip, so let's see how he fares. A great shot, but a bit more flat. And
He's very close, right there next to Ken's shot.
yes, does get a fairly fortuitous skip. And you can see on Al's face, Al is a bit dejected. He's worried, and I'm very surprised to see that. That seems to be tailing off a bit to the left, and he's come up well short. That's going to be a difficult shot for 2.
Very, very closely out of bounds.
Yes, and as you can see from the puddles here, and there's some guys having a good time, the Ducks.
It's good to see somebody enjoying the rain.
That's right. Al with a shot for 2, coming up left. Al is just, he's having a tough time.
Now here's Ken's second shot.
Ooh, just right of the basket.
He didn't look too happy with that shot.
No.
Next up is Barry for birdie.
From about 40 feet with the straddle putt, as you had mentioned earlier.
Oh, just missing. You have to wonder if it had been raining so hard, do you think that would have been in?
No, actually, I don't think that was a matter of the rain keeping that out. He just came up a little short. Dr. Rick from about 35 feet for his birdie. And a perfect strike. Very nice, too.
Very nice, especially considering the extreme conditions here today.
Yes, with the rain, those putts become increasingly difficult.
Here's Al for his third shot. Once again, drawing off that disc. And he's in safely for par.
And Barry from about 10 feet for his par. Very close to a 2.
He too is in safely.
Yes. Now Ken, coming off his first loss in 9 years, Stacy, at the World Championships, has come the vengeance. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights from his earlier rounds.
Bucky, here we take a look at Kenny on Friday, round 2, where he carded a course record of 50.
And you know, Stacy, this being the championship caliber course that is a par 63, there's very few birdies. On this course, there's actually 11 available, and on Friday, Kenny got 10 of them. A remarkable feat that I know will not be duplicated this weekend or for some time to come, for that matter.
This year, Ken lost his first World Championship in 9 years. For somebody who has played with him for over 10 years, tell me how you reacted to that.
Well, I'll tell you, Kenny was extremely gracious in defeat, but in all honesty, I don't think it sets well with him, because Kenny truly believes that that World Championship trophy is his, and I know that he's going to have something to say about it. He wanted to make sure that he went out on his own terms. Oh, as you can see there, Kenny, being the crowd pleaser that he is, just hits that 50-footer. He does those things with regularity. Kenny said that he did not want to lose the World Championship, but that he wanted somebody to beat him. And that's exactly what happened this year. So kudos does go out to Ron Russell, because he was able to rise up this year and knock the champ off.
Despite that loss at the Worlds, he had some other big wins this year. He had a big win at the Kansas City Wide Open, the Disc Golf Journal Peoria Open, as well as the Melbourne Open, in which he beat the rest of the field by 15 strokes.
Well, you know, you could go out through Kenny's stats throughout the entire year and years past. And one thing that sticks out to me is the fact that Ken has never finished worse than 6th in any event since his first tournament win in 1988. It makes him the only player on the Pro Tour with more than 5 years of touring that has never finished out of the money. And no one else can say that, as we watch again another great shot.
He is such a remarkable player that he even has his own line of discs.
Yes, they debuted about 3 years ago. It's the KC Series, which has done a lot for the sport, because I'll tell you, there has never been a player, obviously, of the caliber of Ken Climo, and to have his name on a line of discs has really legitimized the sport. And as you can see here, hole number 17, the viewers are in for a treat with Ken's favorite disc, the Inn of a Rock, and bam, a hole in one.
What a remarkable shot. Now, Kenny's not normally known for hitting aces such as this.
No, there's several players out there that are very, I don't want to say prolific at hitting aces, but there are guys out there whose names are attributed to certain facets of the game, such as putting or approach shots or driving. And oddly enough, you really never hear Kenny's name mentioned for any of those things. But there is nobody out there who under pressure can handle it and has the game that the champ has.
Just an all-around player.
Yeah, baby. Now, as you see here, Kenny's set up on hole 18 for his second shot. Now, this is an incredibly difficult hole. It's a par 4 with OB all down the left side and OB on the right. And Kenny's managed to make a par on all 3 rounds. So it'll be interesting to see how he does today.
There's Kenny finishing up, besting his course record, 50, by 1 stroke, carding a 49. Here we are, Bucky, moving ahead to hole 8, the second longest hole on the course.
Yes, and Ken is up on the tee. I'll tell you what, this has become an increasingly more difficult hole because it has been conformed or redesigned from 2 holes into 1 real long one. As you can see, Kenny here, Stacy, throwing the special edition T-Bird with a big turnover shot. Being 1,000 feet, they can pretty much get up on this shot, for lack of a better term, and throw it as hard as they want.
This hole is a par 5. Kenny's landed just to the left side of the road, very, very close to out of bounds.
Yes. And next up, you'll see Dr. Rick. And as I had alluded to earlier, we've seen Dr. Rick go to the glove. Now, the reason that is because he's able to get a better grip as a result of the rain. And his shot, as you can see, Dr. Rick, he just doesn't have the power that these other guys do, but he's able to get there. And that's a fine shot, because to be quite honest, Stacy, what these competitors want to do is do their best to get a 5. If they can get a 5 in these conditions, they've executed well.
Here's Al up on the tee.
And as you see the shot, again, with a fairly wide open landing area, not much to worry about as long as you keep it and maintain control.
Still in the middle of the fairway.
Right, exactly.
Barry Schultz up.
Mm-hmm. And it looks to be that the rain has subsided somewhat. Still falling, but certainly not as hard as it was.
Barry's got that towel right there.
And Barry going with a roller, the only one off the tee, and cutting out early and looking to be OB. And as you can see from the look on Barry's face, he is dejected. In fact, is out of bounds. Now, Stacy, as I had mentioned earlier, this hole was originally 2 separate holes, but through the course redesign, what they've done is made it into one long one in excess of 1,000 feet.
Barry now taking an extra stroke for being out of bounds.
Right. So he'll be taking his 3rd shot here, and it's important that he gets a good one in play. And it looks to be good. Oh, and it's heading towards the water, and it is out of bounds 2 in a row. What an unfortunate break.
Definitely some frustration coming out of Barry.
Absolutely. He's having a tough round, I'll tell you, Stacy. As you can see Kenny there for his 2nd shot, turning it over considerably well, but he's right in the fairway and a safe shot. You won't see the champ take too many unnecessary risks.
That's why he's a champ.
That's right. You see Al getting ready for his 2nd shot here. He's got a hold of this first drive. And again, as I said, these guys are trying to get a 5 on this hole, and if they can do that, they've done extremely well. Oh, and Al seems to be taking it a little wide to the right, flirting with that out of bounds. And yes, in fact, he did go out of bounds.
And after 7 holes, here's the leaderboard.
Now, here's Dr. Rick as he takes his 3rd shot.
You've got ducks in the way as well.
Yes. Kenny just waiting, trying to take the edge off any time that there's a slow players in front of you or maybe some commotion in the fairway. You know, these guys have intense concentration. I mean, these guys can show you what concentration's about. So if there is something that affects Kenny's concentration, he'll step off the shot. Now, he was thinking about going for it and try to go over. You can see the nod of his head there. He's decided to take the safe shot, just lay it out to the right, and play smart. Even though he's got a sizable lead, Kenny always makes the prudent decision.
In addition to being just such a long hole with the out of bounds on both sides of you, it's extremely difficult, and that was the right move to make.
Exactly, especially when the pressure's on. And now Al from out of bounds and gets a hold of a great hyzer shot just short of the corner. I don't think he can see the basket from there, Stacy, so it'll be interesting to see what he has to do.
Here's Barry. Looks like he's about to go over the water. Considering he's been out of bounds twice, Bucky, is this a smart move?
Well, I'll tell you, Stacy, what he's doing right now is pressing. He's been out of bounds twice, and he knows he's got to make something happen. And you're correct. You know, the other guys, as I said, are playing safe for a reason. They know if they can get a natural 5 on this hole, which is a par, that they're doing very well. Now, Barry has just fallen apart. We've seen that since the beginning. And again, as I said, it's very uncharacteristic of a guy of his caliber to have this happen. It's not uncommon to see from other players, but.
And now Ken Climo on his 4th shot.
Stacy, that sets up perfectly for Kenny over the water. It's a hyzer shot, and as you can see, he's put it just shy of the water, but there's no trouble behind him on the putt, so he should have no problem executing that.
Now here comes Rick, about to shoot over the duck. And what I think you might not be able to tell from the television is that this hole is actually on a peninsula, so you've got many factors in addition to the weather just to overcome.
That's right. And Rick again plays a safe shot. He's come up a little short. I'll tell you what, this is the kind of hole that can make or break a tournament. This hole, and you see somebody there who's making this hole. He's liking this. He's having a good time. And I'll tell you what, I bet a few of those guys out there wouldn't mind him for a caddy.
Up next is Al. He's getting ready.
And it looks like he's got a spectator there.
He does.
Maybe he could get some tips from the duck.
He's got a very low ceiling he's got to try and get underneath in order to get to the hole.
Right. Well, I think the duck likes it. So does Al.
That's a great shot.
Now you can see there, Stacy, he had a low ceiling, but what Al did is he used the terrain. He noticed that there was not a puddle of water, and he was able to use the rain that's on the grass to skip up close to the basket.
Barry's setting up for his 6th shot. He needs to make this crucial putt.
These are the putts that we talked about earlier, Stacy, that are so crucial. It is just imperative from 30 to 45 feet, and especially in these conditions, just missing to the right.
Again, just trying to overcome these conditions. The way this hole is, the length, the way it's set up, the out of bounds, it's just very difficult.
Yep. Rick for his 5th shot. And Stacy, we're an hour and a half into the round, and the rain has not let up. And Rick, that looks like Rick was just laying up safely for his 6, and you don't hear that very often, that people lay up safely for a 6.
And here's Ken. He's setting up.
And Kenny safely in for his 5, the only 5 on this hole, which won't be duplicated by a lot of people today in these conditions.
Al's up. He's on his 6th shot, and he's in.
Stacy, I'll tell you, well, there you go. You got to look at it, folks, right there. The mascot of the entire round right there. And he's the only one. He and his friends are the only ones having any fun out here. Well, of course, the champ's having a good time today. But, Stacy, that's the type of hole that where somebody who's down and is pressing, like I mentioned that Barry was pressing, what happens is you get down a stroke or two and you try to get it back. You've got to know when to try to pick your spots. And not to say that Barry wasn't choosing wisely there, he just had some unfortunate breaks.
Bucky, we caught up with PDGA Commissioner Jim Chalice earlier this week to discuss qualifying for this event.
Well, different than the World's Championships, we have only one division of play here. We have the best of the best. At the Worlds, we have a lot of different divisions, age divisions at play. And the way the players got here this year is they qualified at various tournaments throughout the United States during the year. As well, we had some exempt players, typically former World's champions, that were also qualifying for this tournament here at Winthrop University.
And here's the list for the 2000 qualifying events to get you to the United States Disc Golf Championship.
Here's our leaderboard after 10 holes in the final round. Moving ahead to the 11th hole.
Kenny on the tee, Stacy. Trying to do a punch shot right down the middle. That one got away from him a little bit. Actually, Kenny may have been going for the hyzer shot there, or could have just very well got a little sticky, as I said, sometimes even when it's wet. The disc can do crazy things, so certainly not a shot that he was looking for.
Dr. Rick, precision is definitely a must on this hole, right off from the tee.
Absolutely, and as you can see here from Dr. Rick's shot, a great shot. Precision is what he got, right down the middle, and that's what you're looking for. This is not a hole that's going to be birdied by a lot of people, and certainly not in these conditions.
Barry stepping up. What are they thinking? What's going through their mind right now as they attempt to clear these trees?
Well, first of all, there's a great shot by Barry down the middle. A little longer than Dr. Rick's, but what happens, Stacy, is when they get up there, depending on where they're sitting on the card, and in Al's case, having struggled in the last couple of holes, and Barry's case, what happens is they're stepping up there and they're saying, we need to par this hole. And Al got off a great shot. So Rick and Barry and Al are in the middle, and they're looking good. Kenny, unfortunately, has found some trouble off the tee, and let's see what he does, if he can recover.
Ken setting up for a second shot.
Ouch! Wow, I'll tell you, Stacy, that's not... what happened there is Kenny slipped, I'll tell you. It's been raining for so long. They've been playing for 2 hours now that the rain has just turned the mud into, like, ice, and Kenny slipped on that shot, because rarely do you ever see Kenny have 2 bad shots consecutively.
We'll see what he can do coming now on his third shot.
Oh, and stopping. He's having trouble with the footing. It is very difficult to get good footing out there.
There we go, and he uses a roller shot.
Yeah, something that you haven't seen Kenny throw all day today, and just a great shot considering rolling and flirting with the OB on the left-hand side. There's OB all down the left side, Stacy, and on the right side, there's an actual ball field, but there is a hill that kind of keeps you from going up there, and there's an actual mandatory on this hole that makes you, as you can see in front of Al there, there's a sign that says mandatory, and you have to stay to the left of that.
Here's Al kind of positioning himself up on top of the hill.
And a great shot, about 10 feet from the basket. So Al's found some new life here on hole 11. I bet he'd like to play this again as well. And Dr. Rip setting up for his shot.
And the rain's still coming down.
Yes, relentless. Nice to see the spectators. And coming in very nicely, but skipping very close to the out of bounds. I'll tell you, he's left himself about 25 feet to the right, and it's going to be very rather cumbersome shot because he's going to be abutted against that fence line.
Here's Barry. I don't know if Barry can actually see the hole from here. He's got a tree right in front of him.
Yeah, I don't think he can see the hole. Barry most likely is just going to lay up something really safe and just get out of here with an easy three. Oh. But I'll tell you what happens, Stacy, you lose your concentration, and either A, he lost his concentration, or B, the weather had something to do with it. Hey, there's a couple of guys having some fun.
We've recruited some people to help hold the umbrellas.
Yes, that's right. The life and times of the cameraman.
Here's Barry. Looks like he's going to try and use a roller shot. Try and go up the hill a little bit, get a little bit closer to the hole.
And rethinking things. Actually, I think he's just drawing off his disc. He may only have a two-finger shot here, Stacy. May not have an opportunity to actually get that backswing for a backhand shot. So taking a rock out and just pitching a little two-finger shot that'll flex back towards the basket. Oh, and he has just found a world of trouble on this hole.
I bet he's waiting not only for the rain to stop, but for this round to be over.
Now, Stacy, I'll tell you, Kenny has had another incredible year. This year in the Triple Nugget, which consists of the Browns and Bows, the Browns Valley, and the Motherlode Grass Valley out in California, Kenny won 2 out of the 3 events. And considering the competition that they have out there, again, he's just had an incredible year.
Kenny's setting up for a shot.
And it looks good. Just a little basic turnover shot coming to the basket with his putter.
Right in the mud, but it does leave him with a good shot and an easy shot when he gets up there to putt out.
And now Barry out, and Barry too has had just an incredible year. He's been, he's been playing for about 16 years, but he didn't turn pro until 1991. And of course, Barry qualified this year at the Masters Cup in Santa Cruz, where he finished first place. And De La Viega is one of the greatest courses that you'll ever find in disc golf, and that's what I've heard from several golfers. And Barry just not feeling it right now, Stacy. He's just out. Yes, he's out of his game, and I'm certain that he just doesn't want to be out there right now. But he won't give up. I can guarantee you that.
Here's Dr. Rick just on the edge of out of bounds and just missing that shot.
And that was one of the examples that I had made earlier, was that when the chains are wet, sometimes the disc will have a tendency to either not grab or to cut through.
Here's Kenny, and he's in safely.
Yes. And the champ would sooner like to forget that hole. Even though he's got a commanding lead, Kenny never likes to shoot poorly on as much as one hole.
Here's Al, getting ready to put out, and he's in too safely.
Yes, with a safe par, no less. So that was a very good hole for Al, and hopefully he can take that forward on to hole 12 and go from there. And Barry and Dr. Rick with a couple of short ones to putt out. While we have time, Stacy.
Here's the leaderboard after 11 holes. Here we are at hole 12. Al teeing off, and it is still raining. Bucky, look at that.
I'll tell you, there's been some, and that's a good throw for Al, considering. I'll tell you what, Stacy, I've played in a lot of tournaments since 1991, which was my first year playing, and I have yet to see a tournament that had this much rain for this length of time. This is just brutal. After a while, not only does it wear on your game, but you just get sick and tired of it.
Dr. Rick with his drive. This is a 650-foot hole. It's a par 4. Bucky, tell me about some of the obstacles they might come across.
Well, first of all, Stacy, as Kenny tees off here, I want to go back and mention something about Dr. Rick. As you can see the ropes down the right-hand side, that's an OB line where Kenny flirts with it and comes in safely. You'll notice 9 times out of 10 that Dr. Rick is probably 50 feet behind each of the other golfers. But you notice where he is. He's in the lead group, and that's for a reason, because he's a consistent golfer. He's very, very rarely ever off the beaten path. So as Barry sets up here, we've got OB down the left side and the right side, respectively. And again, the tee shot here, the optimum shot, is just to get something out into the center. Oh.
Barry shot is out of bounds.
Yes. Yes. He has just really falling on a hard stretch here in these last 4 or 5 holes. It's just terrible to see that. But again, as I said, I'll tell you what, Barry's got no quit in him, and he won't give up without a fight.
It is just coming down, but Barry will take his stroke, and he'll move on from here. What kind of shot is he going to go for from this position?
Well, from this position, Stacy, he certainly can't reach the basket, so what he's going to do, he's going to try to throw it as close to the neck, which is the entrance to where the basket is. It's about 320 feet to where he is. And he's left himself about 35 feet short, which gives him an opportunity for a long par, or actually for a bogey, considering he was out of bounds, but difficult at that.
Dr. Rick setting up. He's fairly close to the middle of the fairway, going over the out-of-bounds area.
And sneaking through. Again, as we spoke earlier about the water congregating and keeping the disc from skipping, it doesn't seem to be happening on this hole because of the undulations. Certainly in the spot that Dr. Rick hit, that he got a good skip. Now, I believe that you'll see Kenny go for this because he got a considerably long drive off the tee.
With the lead he's got right now, too, it's not too much of a risk for him.
No, it's not too much of a risk. And as you see, Kenny, he's using the birdie bag there. What that does, it's kiln-dried wood. It's sawdust, and it keeps the disc dry. But Kenny's always the prudent golfer. Even though he has a great lead, unless it's for show, he doesn't like to take risks that are unnecessary.
Was that a special disc he pulled out of that bag for
No,
that shot?
that was a rock. That's Kenny's favorite disc, and he has several of those in his bag that are in different degrees of stability. And that was one of his older ones that's a bit beat up.
Al setting up, trying to get his disc dry.
Virtually impossible today.
Virtually.
Al qualified this year, Stacy, at Bowling Green, finishing 4th, and he's been touring all year long with fellow Michigander Todd Branch, and they've hit 22 events, 16 of them being super tours, and they both left full-time jobs to travel in a Winnebago, which most people couldn't understand. As you see his approach shot there, just a great shot, just about 30 feet short, and throwing one of Kenny's favorite discs, the rock.
Something that is obviously evident is that these guys love this game, as do the fans who have managed to stay throughout the rain today.
Exactly. Also, Al's best finish ever at the World Championships was this year in Rochester, where he finished in 4th place.
There's somebody helping them out, holding a disc, trying to keep it dry.
Yeah, as you can see from the video here, the rain is just relentless. It has not stopped. Now almost 2.5 hours into the round.
Barry setting up for a shot. A straddle putt, although I think he's a little far for a putt.
And giving it a good go, coming up a little short on the right. This landing area is mulch, so it's conducive to making the discs stop.
And Dr. Rick.
With a little turnover, just laying up, nice and safe, so he can get out of there with his par.
Again, very consistent in his shots. And Ken.
With a great putt for a birdie on this hole. Just a great shot, well executed. A safe shot into the fairway, a good upshot, and a great putt.
He's definitely proving his championship worthiness.
Yes, he certainly is. And now Al's got a shot from about 10 feet closer, so he also has an opportunity for birdie.
Al putting in.
Safely. And the one difference between Kenny, because I'll tell you, Kenny and Al share the likeness of the same, or share the like of the same discs for the most part, except for the putter. Kenny putts with an AVR, and what you find in Al's bag is the thumb track birdie, as we see Dr. Rick putt in there, who also putts with an AVR.
Barry putting in. Everybody's in safely. Here's a look at the leaderboard after hole 12. I'm joined by Juliana Bauer, winner of the U.S. Women's National Disc Golf Championship. First of all, Juliana, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're coming off an incredible year winning the World Championship. Tell me a little bit about what it felt like today to put that final putt in the 18th hole.
It's always a relief to finish off the tournament. The course here is just amazing. It's a joy to play. Such a beautiful course, a true golf course with the OB and the length. It's just a beautiful place.
How much of a factor was the weather for you today here at the university course?
Unfortunately, it did come into play. It's been raining most of the day, which makes it much tougher to grip, to get a good grip on your disc, which makes it harder to throw far, and that's necessary on this course.
Nice. Good job. Good job.
Here's the leaderboard after hole 15. Moving ahead to hole 16, Al Schack is up at the tee.
And Stacy, Al's throwing an eagle here. And again, this is a great driving hole because it's extremely wide open, a fairly long hole at a little over 570 feet. And he's executed a great drive, put himself in position to make an easy upshot.
He stayed right in the middle of the fairway. Kenny up.
And a couple of options here, but with the rain, it's pretty reduced. With the rain, you're relegated to having to throw an air shot. You'll see a lot of guys try rollers because they can go at it with reckless abandon. And again, Kenny with a perfect shot right down the middle, coming down on the home stretch.
With the rain as it is, it's probably going to slow down on a roller shot considerably.
Yes. If, as Dr. Rick throws, as you can see, Dr. Rick doesn't have nearly the power that the other guys do, and he's coming fairly close to the left side, but he's in good position. Yeah, if it's raining consistently all day, like it is here, it's going to affect the disc a lot differently. Oh!
Ooh, and he hits the wire, the telephone pole.
Yes. Let's take a look at this again. He sets up for the roller shot, and as you can see there from the look on Barry's face, he is just dejected. Just one unfortunate break after another. So after being out of bounds, going for his third shot, and he lets go of that one, I'll tell you what.
But he's put himself in good position to get back on course.
He's still about 50 feet away. It's going to be a tough putt. If he hits that for a 4, he's doing extremely well.
Dr. Rick for his second shot.
And Dr. Rick trying a flex shot there where it goes off to the right and then tails back to the left. And he's left himself with a good shot for par.
He'll be shooting up just a little bit uphill.
Yes. He doesn't look like he's very happy with it, but I think when he gets up there, he'll be okay.
I think they're delirious.
From this weather, that's no surprise. It's amazing. 3 hours into the round now, and still there has not been one lull in the rain.
As Al sends his second shot off into the air, it looks like the rain is slowing up just a little bit.
As you can see, Al skipped it right off the top there near the basket, so he's going to have about a 25-foot putt for par there.
Kenny selecting a disc from his bag.
Yes, and as you can see, Kenny's got a caddy there. Being the 9-time world champion, obviously, there's several people at your disposal that are willing to caddy for you, and certainly in conditions like this, it makes a huge difference.
Kenny's second shot. Very similar to Dr. Rick's and to Al's.
Yes, and Kenny also bouncing off, much like Al's did. He's got about a 35 to 40 footer for par. Again, it's tough to gauge because the grass is wet, so you know the disc is going to skip.
Here's Barry with a straddle putt.
After being out of bounds, this is going to be a tough putt for 4. Oh.
He's just a little long on that shot.
Now Dr. Rick trying to keep his disc dry. Again, as I said, Stacy, earlier, these players are used to playing in conditions like this, but not for this length of time. Again, I've rarely seen a tournament where it has rained start to finish for an entire round on a course with this level of difficulty. Oh.
Barely missing. Barely.
Just coming up short. In the nubs, as we say.
He's smiling, though.
Yes.
He's ready for it to be over.
And Kenny, around the world there, just creeping it in on the left side, but that's okay. He'll take that par and run. Coming down with 2 holes left to go.
Here's Al, getting ready for his par shot. And he's in safely.
Yes, and I'll tell you, I really got to give Al credit because he hung. He had a few bad holes there and brought it back together, starting on hole 11 with the only par, and he's brought it back to respectability. Very nice.
And Barry's in. He'll finish with 5.
Yes, he had just an unfortunate break hitting that wire.
Out of
You'll
bounds.
see courses, because they're in existing parks departments, you will see courses from time to time that have power wires or man-made objects that come into play. Coming down the home stretch, Stacey, we've got Al, Shotgun Schack, as he's referred to by our camera guys, for his propensity for quick play on the tee. Lets one go on this short hole, 242 feet.
Doesn't look too happy.
No, he certainly doesn't.
Kenny's up at the tee.
And Stacey, if you remember yesterday, Kenny went on to take a hole-in-one on this hole, an ace as it's referred to in the sport, as he carded a course record 49. And another great shot by the champ here.
And he's landing very closely to Al's disc, and they're right in the middle of the hay bales.
Now, let's go ahead and take a look at Kenny's shot here. As you'll see his form, Kenny's very short and compact on these short shots. Just 2 quick steps, full extension, and rips the hyzer shot.
Bucky, tell us the purpose of those bales of hay.
Well, the bales of hay actually act as a green similar to traditional golf. So the entire landing area between the tee and the bales of hay are considered out of bounds. It must come to rest within the confines of those bales of hay, as we see Dr. Rick, who most assuredly will get inside, and he just
that's a great
parks it.
shot.
That's known as valet parking.
Barry stepping up to the tee.
And I'll tell you, I had made a comment earlier about Al bringing his round back to respectable. To take nothing away from what Barry's done and his accomplishments this year, unfortunately, Barry just had a real bad round today, and sometimes that happens, but he will be back. You can believe that. A great shot right there, what's referred to as a knife.
Al standing in, getting ready to putt out.
With his thumb track birdie.
There we go, and
for
he's
his
in
2.
2.
I think it ended up a little better than he thought it did from the tee.
I think so.
A lot of times the perspective from the tee may lead you to believe that you've skipped into the water because you don't actually see the last couple of feet. When they get that close, they're not entirely sure.
And Kenny from about 10 feet, easy. Very easy for him. In and 2.
And now Barry for his birdie. Straddle putt, and he's in. And Dr. Rick obviously is parked, putting with the umbrella. Very nice. In for his 2.
And here's Al stepping up to the 18th and final tee of this round.
And he's going to be throwing an eagle here, Stacy. Again, this is an opportunity for the guys to either throw a turnover shot or a roller, and Al's elected to throw a big air shot.
This is a par 4 hole with a pin up towards the top of the hill near the clubhouse, which is barely visible from the bottom of the tee.
Yes, they can't see it from the tee.
Ken Climo now stepping up. He's going to go for the same type of shot that we saw Al.
Yeah, it's just going to be, Kenny's right now, he's on cruise control. He's just coasting, and he just wants to, he'll put on a little show here at the end. And Kenny's got a little streak going. He's birdied this hole the last 3 times that he's played it, so he's going for 4 for 4.
Dr. Rick with his tee off the 18th hole.
Again, just a smooth technical shot. Dr. Rick has not played poorly today. It's just that he wasn't able to really card any birdies or really turn it on.
And you can see, although the rain's let up slightly, there's still a significant amount of water that's stopping those discs once they hit the ground.
Yes, better than 4 hours of rain now, just since the start of this round. And Barry with a bomb roller. Bomb is a type of disc, and he's headed straight for out of bounds, and wouldn't you know it, boy, when it rains, it pours, and there's no pun intended there. Barry just has not had a good break all day long from the first hole.
Dr. Rick setting up for his second shot. What kind of disc is he going to use here?
Dr. Rick's going to use a high-tech disc here, and very simply, Stacy, he wants to use that for the skip, the propensity for it to skip at the end and bring it back down to the left towards the basket. And just traveling out of sight. That may have come up short and could be out of bounds. We'll have to take a look at that. And from the look on his face, I think he knows it is short.
It was definitely headed in the right direction, but yes, did come up a little bit short. Here's Ken.
Ken throwing a rock, which is his go-to disc.
Looked like he slipped again a little bit.
He did slip a little bit, but I'll tell you what, that is just perfect, and he is in a golden chance there to not only win the tournament, but to go 4 for 4 on a most difficult hole. This also was one of the ones that was redesigned. They added about 200 feet.
It's a good thing that mulch is there to slow those up a little bit.
Indeed.
Here we see Al stepping up for his second shot.
And Al also choosing a rock, looking to get a skip. That looks to come up a little bit short. I don't think he's out of bounds, but...
Here's Barry with his third shot now coming out of bounds.
Right. And boy, he looks to have pulled out a little tight. I'll tell you what, it would not surprise me to see him out of bounds there, but I sure hope that he didn't end up OB. Now, Al having birdied 3 out of the last 4 holes, Stacy, he's put himself in a real good position to hold on to second. So barring any unforeseen charge from somebody in the second group, he looks to have been able to hold on.
Here's Dr. Rick on his 4th shot. He, too, went out of bounds on this final hole.
And laying up safely for his 5. And as we see Al setting up for his birdie putt, very difficult. So most likely he's just going to lay up knowing that he's carded a fairly good round and that it's up to the guys behind him to catch him.
That's with an easy par right there for him. Ken Climo setting up. Now he's birdied this hole 3 times already. He's setting up for his 4th possible birdie.
And the winning putt of the tournament.
There it is.
Bam, it is in there. 4 birdies in a row and the winner of the 1999 United States Disc Golf Championship. Unbelievable. Stacy, I got to tell you, there's proof in the pudding, the fact that Kenny plays so well here. Back in '97 at the World Championships, he was down by 7 strokes during the 7th round, in which he closed the gap to within 1 and went on to win by 7 strokes over Scott Stokely, carding an incredible hole-in-one on the 3rd hole of the semifinal round, as we see Barry putt out there. But it just goes to show you that Ken Climo, it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke that he lost this year at the World Championships. Ron played a great tournament, but I'll tell you what, there was nobody that was going to defeat the champ here at Rock Hill this weekend.
And then Dr. Rick and Al both putting out, and we saw Barry smile, and I think that's the first smile we saw on his face all day today.
And now let's go to the results of the 1999 United States Disc Golf Championship. Ken Climo karting an incredible 9 under in the final round deluge of rain. It was just incredible with a 15-stroke victory. And Al Schack shooting a 5 under, enough to lock up second place with a 219. But I'll tell you, coming up from behind, Craig Gangloff and Phil Arthur both karting at 6 under 57. And Craig, the only one with a bogey-free round, very respectable at 3rd and 4th place. And David Greenwell karting a 5 under 58 in the final round. David, known for having the most total combined wins at 100 in the Open division and 30 in the Master division, is tied with Mike Moser and Rick Vokes. Rick shooting a disappointing 1 under for him. A good round nonetheless, but certainly disappointing. And also Barry Schultz, certainly with a disappointing round at a 1 over par. He comes in 8th place. And local Stan McDaniel and former Masters World Champion coming in at 11th place, finishing 3 under par. Very nice considering the weather. And Al Schack's fellow Michigander Todd Branch in a tie for 12, shooting a 4 under par 59 in the final round. A nice finish. Current world champion Ron Russell shooting an even par in the final round, having his struggles in this final round, coming in a tie for 12th place. Local Kirk Yu finishing with a 67, certainly disappointing for him. Kirk, having been in the lead group in the second round, finishes alone in 17th place. And finally, Jim Myers in a tie for 18th with distance world champion Scott Stokely. Jim having shot a 64 today, but taking an ace on hole number 4 earlier in the week, so certainly some just desserts for Jim Myers. There's again a look at your leaderboard for the 1999 United States Disc Golf Championship. Well, Stacy, we've enjoyed an incredible week here at Winthrop University, and I tell you, I must say and send out a great thanks to all the folks here at Winthrop University, and most importantly, at the Winthrop Conference Center, where they put us up for the week. And in talking with several of the competitors, the bar has been raised, and certainly from the PDGA standards, the U.S. Disc Golf Championships has garnered itself the recognition as now the second major on tour, behind that only of the World Championships. What did you take from this, knowing this is your first tournament and first experience around the sport of disc golf? What are your feelings?
Bucky, I have to tell you, personally, I was just truly amazed by the sport in itself. I could not get over the players' intensity with each and every shot, and also the finesse and the complexity of the game itself. I was definitely surprised, and I'm looking forward to being here again.
Well, we certainly need to thank Jonathan Poole and the entire staff, because they put on an absolutely incredible tournament by all standards. Again, the bar has certainly been raised, and they did just a fabulous job considering the inclement conditions that they had to deal with today on the final round. We also would like to thank the PDGA for their support for this tournament, and all the volunteers that helped during this final round with such terrible weather. And certainly last but not least, Innova Champion, with which we could not have done this production or this great tournament. So we would certainly like to invite all of you out next year from October 12th to the 15th. It's the second annual United States Disc Golf Championship. Make sure to look for a qualifying event in a town near you. Bye-bye till next year.